Hi, I'm Professor Ulivi, and thank you for attending my How Social Security Works for You seminar. The purpose of today's seminar is to help you understand the ins and outs of Social Security and to make you an offer you can't refuse. What we won't explain today is how Medicare works and how Social Security disability benefits work. If you need to contact me for any reason, please call me 714-771-6000 or shoot me an email at professor@ulivi.com or go to my website at www.ulivi.com. Well, thank you for attending. It should be a very valuable seminar for you. The disclaimer: any figures that I show, any projections that I show, I want you to understand that they're projections and not guarantees. So what are we going to be talking about today? The importance of Social Security and retirement planning, why the right claiming strategy can make a huge difference, how we can help you make the right claiming decision. Then we'll talk about the ins and outs of Social Security, and I'll make you an offer you can't refuse. Let's talk about the importance of Social Security and retirement planning. The table here, the first column, the 2012 earnings. Let's take an individual that has made, on average throughout his lifetime, about $110,000. His expected Social Security should be around $2,400 at his full retirement age. Now, the importance of this is the following, is that should provide about 26% of his income. That's a huge number. For somebody that has averaged about $110,000 in his lifetime, to get 26% of his retirement income from Social Security is very important. Now, take somebody who's made about $69,000 a year, and their Social Security will be about $2,500 a month, but that represents 35% of their pre-retirement income. In other words, Social Security is a very, very important source of retirement income. Now, let's go over the key elements of Social Security. No other investment can match the combination of inflation-fighting increases, longevity protection, investment risk elimination, and spousal coverage than Social Security can, potentially making it one of the most valuable sources of retirement income. Let's talk about now why the right claiming strategy can make a huge difference, and it can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here's an example. I'm going to use myself and my wife as the example on this table. My expected lifespan is in the first row. Social Security expects me to live to age 85 and my wife to live to age 90. If I claim at 62, the cumulative benefits that my wife and I will receive amount to $1 million, $1.5 million. But if I claim at 66, it'll be $1,070,000. But if I go to the primary strategy, which is the best strategy in our case, it'd be $1,192,000, nearly $200,000 more than filing early. Now, let's assume for a moment that I'm going to live 10 years longer than what Social Security expects me. In that case, if I claim at 62, I should expect to receive about $1,375,000. But if I choose the strategy, the primary strategy, which is the best one, it could report to us $1,731,000 over a lifetime, which is about $400,000 more. So it's very important that one takes the time to determine which is the right claiming strategy for you. Now, how can we help you make this decision? For $300, we just charge you $300 for a report. We're going to run about 3,000 claiming combinations to find out the best strategies for you, and then we'll compare the overall benefits of the most important strategies available for you. And finally, we'll recommend a solution for you. We'll tell you, look, this is the best strategy for you. I'll give you more details about this offer later on. But let's go into the ins and outs of Social Security now. First question is, will Social Security be there for me? Well, let's do a little summary of it. The system has about $2.7 trillion in a trust fund right now. Lots of money. The reserves are still growing, and they will continue to grow through the year 2020. Beginning at that time, we think that the expenses are going to exceed the income, and so therefore the trust fund is going to start shrinking. The projections are by the Social Security Board of Trustees that the trust fund is going to be exhausted in 2033. Wow. So now let's figure this out. Myself, who I'm talking. I'm 64, and we're at say 2013. So I got that in 20 years, the trust fund is going to be gone. At that time, the income from Social Security, the taxation on Social Security is only going to amount to 77% of the payments that have been promised. Clearly, they're going to have to make some changes to Social Security. And what's the main cause, one of the most important reasons why Social Security is going to run out of money? As you can see in this graph, between the years 1990 and the year 2000, for every person that was retired, between three and a half were working. We estimate by the year 2030 that only 2 are going to be working for every retiree. So the Social Security that those 2 are going to contribute are just not enough to pay all the promised benefits. So what are some of the options to solve the solvency problem? The most obvious one is raise the eligibility age. Life expectancies have gone up 5 years since Social Security made its first payment in 1940, yet the full retirement age has only slightly gone up from 65 to 67. That's a problem. Another option for improving Social Security is get rid of the inflation increase. That'd be a terrible recommendation, but it is one of the options. Another one is, of course, to lower the initial benefit level. In other words, why should you get as much as you're getting? Just slash the benefit. Another one is to increase the income limit that is taxed. Right now, in the year 2014, you get taxed up in your income up to $113,700. A few years ago, it was as little as $87,900. So, as you can see, one of the options is raise that. Like Medicare, it's unlimited now. Okay, another option is to raise the tax rate. It's at 6.2% right now. It used to be 1%. And of course, cut benefits. And another option, which is a lot of people like to throw around, but I think it's terrible, is privatize. Privatize the system. Okay, so we talked a little bit about how to solve the solvency problem. Let's go into now the question is Social Security a good deal? Okay, you're going to find out that it's a very good deal. Throughout your life, in today's dollars, you're contributing 7.6% in payroll contribution, your contribution. Your employer, of course, puts in another amount. So for the average worker, that's about $3,290 a year. But what do you get for this? You estimate that you will get in your lifetime $718,000 in retirement benefits. You have a disability insurance program that could provide up to $353,000, and a survivor's insurance for your spouse and your kids of another $400,000. So clearly, it's a very good deal, and maybe that's one of the reasons why it's going bust. What about the administrative costs? The administrative costs are very low, and they're less than 1%. Why are they so low? Because the amount of money in the trust fund is so big. Okay, how does Social Security compute your benefit? There's 3 things that take into account: your eligibility, your lifetime average earnings, and your age when you start drawing Social Security. Eligibility means that you have to have a minimum of 40 quarters, or that is 10 years. The second thing is your lifetime average earnings. It takes out the best 35 years. It takes into account inflation. So if you work for 40, it only takes your 35 years, the highest years. So if you work 40 years, you wasted 5 years of Social Security. And then it's going to take into account when your income, how much income you've been making. So for example, in this case, an individual that's averaged about $110,000 should expect about $2,400 a month. But if he's been making $43,000, he can expect to get about $1,500 a month. So the amount of money that you have made will influence your benefit. And then the final thing that determines your benefit is your age at the time in which you start claiming it. This graph shows the age going from 62 all the way to 70. And that's the range in which you can withdraw your Social Security if you're the primary individual. And so the full retirement in age for somebody who's around 64 nowadays is 66. But if you start withdrawing, and at that time, at age 66, you get 100% of your benefit. But if you start withdrawing it at 62, you get about 75% of your benefit. But if you wait till you're 70, you're going to get about 132. So that's going to raise, when the issue is how do I maximize my Social Security benefits, age is going to be a big issue. Okay, this gives you an example of when is the full retirement age. If you were born between 1943 and 1954, your full retirement age is 66. If you were born before then, it was 65, and so forth. Okay, and again, in this case, if you were 66, if your full retirement age is 66, your payment at 62 is going to be 75%. We'll cover that in more detail again later. Now, question is, how can I receive the most benefit? By applying at 62 or later. And of course, you got lots of variables to take into account. Number one is your health status, and of course your life expectancy. They're both intimately related. If you don't think you're going to live long, take it at 62. If you think you're going to live long, wait. Okay, and then of course the need for income. If you've been laid off and you're 62 and you have no other sources of income, you got to take Social Security, even though taking it, say, at age 70 would be a better deal. And then of course, will you plan to continue working or not? Because if you work, you lose your Social Security benefits. So, in general, in most cases, the longer you wait to draw your Social Security, the more you will receive in total. And the longer your lifespan span beyond what the IRS expects you to live, the greater the benefit of waiting. In other words, if you're 66 and the IRS says you should be dead by 85, if you outlive them, having waited to draw your Social Security till later in life will work out in your advantage. This brings us into the issue of the break-even point. People talk a lot about this. What does it mean? It's the break-even indicates the age at which one strategy begins to pay more in benefits than another one. And the rule is this: if you expect to live beyond your break-even age, choose that strategy. For example, the two critical ages are 78 and 82 and a half. Filing at 62 instead of 66 gives you more money unless you live beyond the age of 78. In other words, if you think you're going to die before 78, take your Social Security at 62. Okay? However, if you expect to live more than to 78, you should wait to claim until at least 66. Now, the same situation. Should I take it at 66 or 70? Well, that depends upon what happens to your life expectancy between 82 and a half. If you live longer than 82 and a half, claim it at 70. Otherwise, take it at 66. This graph is going to show you this. It illustrates this very good. If the blue line shows taking your Social Security at 62 and the break-even point is around 78, you can see it matches there at taking it to 66. And so, in order to answer what age you should start claiming, there's many variables involved, but keep this break-even point in mind. Okay, let's do the bottom line of this break-even age. When should you file for Social Security? If you expect to live a shorter life, file early. If you expect to live a longer life, file later. Now, this table gives you an idea of the probabilities of living beyond certain ages. For example, if you're a white male, there is a 58% chance that you're going to live beyond 80. There's a 39% chance that you'll live beyond 85. And keep in mind that 85 is on Social Security more or less thinks that you'll leave this earth. So in other words, there's a 40% chance that you may beat the IRS in their projections. If you're a female, look, there's a 52% chance of you being there. And if you're an African American male, you also have a pretty big chance of getting getting there. Females always win on this. So keep that in mind when you're trying to decide at what age to make your claim. Okay, so what's the conclusion? The right claiming decision depends on a gamble and a choice. You have over 3,000 different strategies to choose from. But of course, the gamble comes with the life expectancy and your health status. You're not sure, right? And then, of course, your need for income and whether you plan to continue to work or not. And there are lifestyle issues too. Do you want to enjoy now or later? What do I mean by that? For example, let's suppose that you have a choice to file at 66 and receive the money, but if you wait till 70, you get to receive more. The question is this: between 66 and 70, you can get an extra $48,000 $1,000. Let's assume $1,000 a month for 4 months. So what do you value more? $48,000 between 66 or 70, or receive nothing between 66 and 70, but $400 more per month thereafter. So it's a choice that you have to make. What do you value more, now or later? Okay, so let's talk about how inflation affects your claiming decision. And this is a really nice table. It assumes that you started at age 62 claiming Social Security, and we're going to assume that inflation has averaged about 2.8%. So you get a Social Security increase every year, but you started withdrawing at 62, and your initial withdrawal was $1,850. By the time you're 80, just because of inflation, your Social Security check has grown to $3,041. Pretty cool. But now, what would have happened if instead of drawing at 62, you would have started at 70? If starting at 70, by the time you're 80, because your initial claim was going to be bigger and your Social Security is going to be, as a result, bigger, your check now is going to be $5,351. So you have to ask yourself, when I'm 80 years old, what would I rather receive? A check for $3,000 or one for $5,300? So inflation can really affect the decision too. Okay, will Social Security pay my family, my spouse, my former spouse, my child? Let's go over this. Typical couple, Mr. and Mrs., and we got the kids. And so we're going to assume that Cliff has a choice, that he was born in 1951, so his full retirement age is at 66. And we're going to assume that he's going to get $1,000 a month at 66. So if he files at 62, he'll get 75%. If he files at 66, he'll get 100%. And if he files at age 70, he gets a premium. He gets 132% of what he would have gotten at age 66. So let's put this in dollars and cents. If he files at 62, he gets $750 a month. If he waits to file to 66, he gets $1,000 a month. And if he waits till age 70, he gets $1,320 for the rest of his life. Now, how about his spouse? We'll say Claire is also in the same age bracket. If she files at 62 and he's still alive, she will get 35% of what he gets. But if she waits to 66, she'll get her 50% of what he's getting. Let's put this in dollars and cents. Remember, Cliff was getting $1,000 at the full retirement age of 66. But if Claire opts to start taking Social Security at 62, she'll only get $350. But if she waits till age 66, she'll get $500. Okay? So the other option is that if she had worked, she could have claimed on her own, but we'll get into that in a minute. Of course, if she had worked and she could have claimed more, she could have taken that. Now, let's summarize all this, put all this together. If Cliff files at 66, he gets $1,000, and then Claire on her own, she gets $0. Let's assume she was a housewife. She gets $0. So she claims at 66 she gets half of what he's getting, or $500. So in total, the family gets $1,500. Now, let's make the other assumption that she has worked, that Claire has worked, but on her own she would receive $400 a month. But if she claims being his spouse, she would get $500. So clearly the best option is for her to claim as his spouse, so they would get $1,500 a month. Now let's look at the third option. Cliff again retires at 66 with $1,000, but now Claire has worked. And if she files her own, she gets $800 a month. But if she files as a spouse, why would she want to take the lesser amount? She takes the $1,800, so the $800. So in this case, it would make more sense for her to file on her own, because what they get as a family is a lot more. Now, let's go over the other example that Claire had a higher income than he had. In that case, she gets to, and we have a little typo here, she gets to claim her $2,200. He gets to claim a spousal for her. He takes $1,100. So their family total should be $3,300 and not $3,200, as I have it there. Little typo. Okay, what about the unmarried child? If Cliff is retired and he has a child under the age of 19 and in high school, he gets $500 or 50% of what Cliff was getting. How about the ex-spouse? Okay, the ex-spouse should have been married for at least 10 years, and Cliff has to be at least 62, and she should not have remarried. In that case, she gets the same payment schedule as Claire does, as if she were his wife. So let's put all this together, the summary for the family. If Cliff retires at 62, he gets $750 a month. If he waits till age 66, his full retirement age, he gets $1,000. But if he waits till age 70, he gets $1,320, a lot more. If his wife, we assume that she's never worked, or his ex-wife, if they file at 62, they get $350. If they wait till 66, they get $500. And the child under the age of 19 would get $500 a month. Okay, how about the survivors? Let's assume for a moment that Cliff has died. In that case, Claire, who's never worked, she can file at age 60 rather than 62. She gets 71% or $715. And at full retirement, she gets what he would have gotten of $1,000. So she has a choice whether to withdraw it, start taking it at 60, or wait till she's 66. And the child will get 75% of the $1,000 or $750. Now, here's a little joke, and this is truth. There is the incentive. This is an incentive for a young woman with a child to marry a retired male. Now, this one is fun. Okay, suppose it's me. I'm retired. I am 62, 64, it doesn't matter. I am getting $2,200 a month, $2,221 a month. If I get a new wife who's 25 years old and she has a 1-year-old child, she will get a check from Social Security of $1,041 or 50%, nearly 50% of mine, and the child will receive $1,041. So, a young lady with a young child has an incentive of $2,082 a month to marry an older guy. Sorry, I had to put that in because it was so funny. Okay, what about if you work after retirement? Well, if you're over your full retirement age, there's no penalty. You don't lose any of your Social Security benefit. However, if you're under your full retirement age and you're working, anything that you earn over $15,000, you're gonna start losing. And so here's how this works. Let's suppose you're 63, you made $19,000. The limit is $15,000. So for the first $15,000, you don't lose any Social Security. But anything over $15,000, you lose half of it. So you'd made $4,000 in excess of what the minimum is, so you would lose $2,000 of Social Security benefits. Now, you don't actually lose it. They withhold it. When you stop working, they'll start paying it to you again. Okay, what happens if you are past your full retirement age or at full retirement age? And let's suppose that you're making $75,000. In that case, you don't lose anything in social, no Social Security benefits are lost. So there's an incentive to keep working after 66. How about taxes? Should you take them into account? And the answer is yes. In many cases, you're better off delaying taking money out from, say, your IRA so that you don't bump into your Social Security. The reason is that you want to keep your Social Security to be taxed between 0 and 50% rather than taxed at the 85% level. And let me show you how this works. Let's assume that you're married filing jointly. If you make income from any source, it could be between $32,000 and $44,000, you're going to get your 50% of your Social Security gets taxed. In other words, if you're drawing income from your IRA and you got some income from other sources, if they exceed $44,000, your Social Security is going to get taxed at 85%. So the idea is to try to minimize your Social Security, the amount of Social Security that will be taxed. Okay, when should you file for Social Security? Do it 3 months before you retire. You can just go to their website, www.socialsecurity.government, or just call them. I wouldn't call them because I tried it one day and I was on hold for 45 minutes. So just try to do it online. All right, let's do the summary of today's seminar. What did we talk about? The importance of Social Security and retirement planning. Remember, we said it could be 25, 30, 40% of your retirement income. And we talked about why the right claiming strategy can make a huge difference. And I showed you that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, let's talk. And then we talked about the ins and outs of Social Security. Will Social Security be there for me? And the answer was, well, for the next 20 years, you have no problem. Is it a good deal? It's a fabulous deal. How do they compute your benefit? We said there's 3 parts to it. It's how much you've made over your lifetime, how many quarters you have worked, and the age at which you're going to start withdrawing. And when should you receive the benefit at applying at 62 or later? Remember, there's a break-even point. There's a lot of variables that you have to take into account: your cash flow, your health, and so forth. How does inflation affect your claiming decision? We said you should definitely take into account. And will Social Security pay my family members? The answer is yes. Can Social Security continue to pay benefits after your death? And the answer is yes. What about work after retirement? We said that after your full retirement age, you don't lose any of your benefits. Otherwise, you will lose some of your benefits. Should you take taxes into account in your claiming decision? The answer is yes. You should look into it. And how do you file for Social Security? Do it 3 months before you decide to do so, and go to their website and make an appointment with them. Okay, so I talked to you about an offer you can't refuse. What's this all about? Look, when you're going to claim your Social Security, there's about 3,000 different claiming combinations. And you have 2 choices. You can just go into the Social Security office, let them select one for you. Let them tell you this is what you should do. Or you can accept the offer you can't refuse. For $300, this is what I can do for you. I can recommend a primary solution that maximizes your cumulative lifetime benefit. That's for you and your spouse if you're married. I'm going to give you a report that compares the recommended strategies to others, and on top of that, you get to spend 45 minutes to an hour with me. Okay, let me give you an example of this report. Let's use myself as an example. I'm Ricardo. I'm 64 years old. My wife is 59. There are large disparities in our primary insurance amount. In other words, my wife never contributed to Social Security because she was a housewife. And of course, she expects to live a lot longer than I do, mainly because she's a female. So let's assume that my primary insurance amount is going to be $24.64 at my full retirement age, and my wife's going to be 0. And my life expectancy is till 85, and my wife is till 90. Now the question is, which is the claiming strategy that might maximize our cumulative lifetime benefits? I'm going to give you a demonstration of a software called Social Security Solutions. It costs about, I think, $850 a year or so, and I subscribe to it. It's really good. It's very good. And so when I say I'll offer it to you to run the report for $300, it's a super good deal. Okay, this is the input page. You can see all the years down here and all the income. I've entered all the Social Security taxes that I've paid throughout these years. Once I've entered all that information, I can just go, let me go home, and now we're going to view the results. When I click on view, you're going to see the computer has done the 3,000 calculations, and it comes out and it says, look, if you follow the recommendation that we're going to give you, your cumulative lifetime benefits should be about $1,194,000, and your maximum monthly benefit will be $44.91. Now, what are they assuming? Under here, you can see step by step. They're recommending that in the particular case of my wife and I, my wife has never worked and she's younger than I am, that I start drawing Social Security at age 70 and that she start drawing it at age 66. If we do that, we should expect to receive, using the life expectancy of Social Security, $1,194,000 over our lifetime, starting at age 70 for me and 66 for her. Now, here's the beauty of this plan. I can go and I can say, well, what happens if instead of waiting until 70, I go to full retirement age, and then I go to projects that, and it says that in that case, you should expect to receive about $1,072,000 over your lifetime. And if I withdraw early, I can come over here and I can say, okay, at age 62, and it's going to say you're going to get about $1 million. Okay, so fabulous software. Now let's go back to the primary, and this is something else very important. They're saying that I should expect to receive about $1,194,000 in cumulative benefits over my lifetime and my wife's lifetime if I start drawing at 70 and she starts at 66. But what happens if I live 10 years more than the Social Security expects me to live. In that case, my benefit would not be $1,194,000, but $1,733,000, nearly over $500,000 more if I get to live 10 more years. Now, what if I expect to live 10 years less than Social Security expects? In that case, we're only going to get about $655,000 over our life. Now, you can do all sorts of other things. You can go and analyze at what ages you're going to start drawing money. You can compare one benefit to another, but I won't go into those details now because they're not that important. Now, this particular site is very valuable. This slide over here, it shows me the green area, the yellow, and the red. What it's saying is that the green area is if I live in those areas, the primary strategy was the best one. In other words, if I live until age 83 and my wife till age 75, we should have taken the primary strategy of starting to claim Social Security at 70. If I live less than 83 to, for example, 82, I should have taken the full retirement. I should have taken my Social Security at 66 and not at 70. And then in the red area, if I happen to live only to age 80 and my wife to age 75, then we should have taken the early. So this is and you can see at any age, if you think that your spouse is going to live till 85 and you till 75, still the best strategy is to take the primary, which they recommend, which was taking it at 70 in my case. This is a wonderful summary of your Social Security strategies. So to make a long story short, I can run this report for you, and it prints out about a 10-page report with all these illustrations except this one graph that you can only view online. So let me go back to my PowerPoint and in a moment. Okay, let me give you a summary of what they offer. We give you more. We show you how to get the most benefit. We're going to make it clear. We simplify the rules and give you a nice report. We compare different scenarios and ways to file monthly, annual, and total benefits. I'm going to show you the claiming strategy with interactive visuals and diagnostics that you remember seeing all those nice graphs that I show you. And on top of that, I'm going to tell you exactly when to file, what to file, and how to file. In other words, not only are you going to spend time with me and I'm going to walk you through the program, show you what your best claiming strategies are, I'm also going to give you a report. Well, I can't leave this seminar without making you a special offer. I told you I would charge you $300 for the report, but how about if I give you a $25 discount, so your net price will be $275. Okay, on top of that, I'll give you a money-back guarantee. If you're not happy with the report and the analysis, just send me an email or just give me a phone call. Just give me one reason why you were disappointed and I'll send your money back. Okay, what do you need to do? What do you need to bring to your appointment? Clearly, your latest Social Security statement. If you don't have it, get a copy of it online. You go to ssa.gov/my account. Then you click on My Social Security, and then you sign on or you create an account and follow the instructions. It should be relatively easy. I tried it myself, and it kicked me out every single time. I don't know why. Fortunately, I've saved my Social Security statement, so it was easy for me to enter my information. Okay. What else? How to make your appointment. Just call me. Call me 714-771-6000 or send me an email at professor@ulevy.com or just go to my website at www.ulevy.com. You can get a hold of me any of those three ways. Okay. If you have any questions about today's seminar, about the offer, about your personal finances, again, just send me an email or call me. Again, 714-771-6000 or shoot me an email at professor@ulevy.com or go to my website, www.ulevy.com. And thank you very much for attending, and I hope you learned a lot.